Okay, so check out this final round on Pearl between Edward Gaming and Paper Rex. The context is that we are one round away from going into overtime, and Paper Rex is currently on a very bad buy. They have one singular rifle here on Mind Freak. They have 2 stingers. Now, what they do have going for them is that they have the Showstopper for Jing on the Raze, and they have 1 ultimate orb away from Forsaken on the Tour de Force. Looking at Edward Gaming, we can see that they have Viper ultimate, they have a Tour de Force of their own, they have an Astra ultimate, and they have a full buy of armor, utility, and weapons. So Edward Gaming is in a very good spot to win this round, and they're going to start the round off by doing sort of a slow default, but setting up towards B. And we know that they're kind of planning to go B because they have this trademark behind them, which is watching the flank. You can also see that they drop a Viper wall towards B, and then 4 players slowly make their way towards B, and they have 1 player lurking here behind them. Now, one other little piece of context that's kind of important is that they're being very careful about how they approach this B long area because of this ultimate from Jing, which was used in a very creative way earlier on in this particular map to punish them as they went up B long. So what they're gonna do is they're gonna drop the KO knife in from a lineup and spawn that lands here and checks to see if anybody is playing these close angles. And then they're going to slowly kind of clear everything out and work their way up B long. And when they don't spy the chamber, so Forsaken is not here, and they might have even expected him to be towards the A site because he wanted to get this ultimate. And the easier orb for the defenders to get is the one on the A site because it's a little bit closer. With all that being said, Edward Gaming is pretty confident that the chamber is not here, but they're going to just go ahead and slowly work their way up towards B. But again, they're not being too aggressive because they're a little bit scared of this raised Showstopper. And so they check a few angles, they fire off some shots. I want to take a quick look at what's happening in response to this. We also see that there is this lurking Astra here in middle that's basically just kind of expecting somebody probably from Paper X to make an aggressive play because they're on a low buy, whether it's pushing up through A main or potentially trying to flank the noise that's being made in B long from one of the 2 middle areas. And so basically this lurker is watching for all of the flanks, but when all of this utility is thrown long, it seems like the call is now that maybe we should rotate and go A, or at the very least, we're going to pull back from B and see if we can find any sort of pickoffs of players playing aggressively. And they're not wrong because Paper X is making an aggressive move. They're actually going to be pushing up through middle. We just saw a Prowler come up like this and clear. And this smoke right here is super, super important. This is a smoke from Paper X and making Edward Gaming think that potentially there is some sort of play coming through middle, but it's also actually protecting the play that is coming through middle from Paper X. And we're going to see that here. So Mind Freak is going to push up to this entrance, and he's going to clear a couple of the close angles, but he's not going to go too far. And meanwhile, we can also see that Benkai, the captain of Paper X, the one who is making these calls, has gotten aggressive and has actually pushed up into this Astra smoke with his stinger. The best way to get value with the stinger is to be as close as possible to your target. And you'll notice that there's actually a second stinger here on Jing, and that is also now creeping up middle and going to join Benkai in this smoke. And while this is all happening, there's obviously some communication going on. You know, the players on B for Paper X are saying, well, nobody's really pushed up yet. Both teams are sort of calming, you know, we don't see anything. Maybe there's people here. I don't know. There's noise, but we're not really sure what's going on. And what all of this does for Paper X is that it gives them an incredible amount of map control. But basically, this trademark plus this particular play from Paper X has given them control of this. So Paper X knows that they basically have all of this under their control. This is a huge amount of map control for them to own, considering that they only have 1 legitimate rifle on their team. And this also gives them a pretty good idea of what Edward is doing. Either they're grouped up here in B main and they're going to execute on B long, or they're going for a long rotation towards A. There's a pretty good chance that these players here will hear Edward Gaming if they do rotate, or at the very least, there will be a very, very fast triple flank if Edward Gaming were to actually hit the B site. There's some very awkward timings happening here. You can see that Edward Gaming leaves, and then at this very moment, we're going to see a Prowler come out, little suspicion from Edward Gaming. It detects a player, and that actually cues the 2 players who were starting to head towards the A site to actually try and pinch on him through this, which actually ends up baiting them into the 2 stingers. And we're going to see right here, you know, the power of stingers at close range. We get 2 kills, we get a rifle, and then a great eye there from Benkai, which is going to detect at least 1 player. And that immediately triggers his call to say, okay, time to fall back. Everybody fall back. Everybody get out of here. We got 2 kills. We got another weapon. We know where they are. They're still in their spawn. Very, very important that we take a look at the clock. There's only 40 seconds left in this round. This play right here has so much impact on this because now Edward Gaming basically cannot go through middle. They cannot go to A through middle. They can't go through B, and they are pretty much stuck into having to re-hit B now. They could maybe make their way to A, but it's still very dangerous because they haven't actually cleared any of this area. They haven't done any of the work to clear this, and so they really just don't have any time. What that forces them to do is that they go to the easiest site where they have the most control because they've cleared part of it. They have a Viper wall there, and you can see that PaperX is ready for this. They have their operator already set up over there, and everybody else on their team is playing extremely passively. Look how far back we have the mid player. Basically in the spawn, he's completely giving up all the access to here because they're pretty confident that Edward Gaming will not do that because it would just be a generally bad play. And with only 20 seconds left, we're going to see Edward Gaming make a pretty desperate attempt to get up here. They're going to actually have to burn the Viper ult to get the spike down. They only have 15 seconds to do it, and there is just a lot of chaos happening here. And in that chaos, we're going to see a big mistake from nobody there. He goes for a spike plant, peek out to try and find a kill, drops the spike outside of the Viper ultimate, gets picked off. Another player gets picked off, and the final player just runs out of time. So PaperX ends up winning the map on an eco buy, and showing that they really just have impeccable mid-round calling.
It looks like it's slipping away from them.
It's turned on its head, it feels like, but with the Viper's bit down, there is a potential opportunity. Tap of the spike, but time is running solo on top of this, and Forsaken that tour de force from earlier.
That's
well, it's
the
coming
spike.
in handy. Spike dropped outside of the pit. You can pick it up, you can try and blind it, but your position, it is known absolutely everywhere, and there is not enough time on the clock. You have secured yourself in quite a pickle, young man. 13-11, that is the scoreline, and Benkai can't believe it.